Today, we're going to have a first look at the Sigma 56mm f1.4 DC-DN on the Sony a6500. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Phil with Photo Gear Fun here. Today we're looking at the Sigma 56mm f1.4 lens. It's made for mirrorless systems, a Sony E-mount, also micro four thirds. It is a fairly inexpensive, very fast, or 1.4 aperture lens. And hey, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. We do reviews and tutorials on this channel, so thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing. This lens is currently selling for about $450 or so. It is the 56mm equivalent on a full frame would be 84mm. It goes from f1.4 to f16. There are 9 blades, as you can see here, in the aperture and the diaphragm. It is about 280 grams, or just about 10 ounces or so, and it uses a relatively small 55mm filter thread. So if you want to put some filters on this, it wouldn't be all that expensive. There are 10 elements in 6 groups. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some pictures, show you some video that I took with this lens on the Sony a6500. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll come back and I'll give you my kind of wrap up and first impressions on this Sigma 56mm f1.4 lens. Well, here are the pictures, my willing model. This is Casey. You can see the color, you can see the clarity. These are all shot at f1.4 on the Sony a6500. Different ISOs. You can look at the thin depth of field here. Look at the bokeh, check it out. f1.4, the depth of field is really, really thin, so you might consider taking a few more shots. Like this one here, Suki is out of focus. You look at her eyes, they're not in focus. But you can see the bokeh in this one. It looks really, really good. So I like the quality of the bokeh. And here you can see a great example. Her left eye is in focus and everything else is just slightly out. But look at the bokeh in front and behind her. Just great, beautiful rendering of bokeh in my mind. And here's another one of Casey. Just playing around, being a kitten. But again, the color, the clarity, these are at higher ISOs since they were shot inside. But here's just an example of the bokeh. And the way that it looks, you can see everything is out of focus. Nearly everything is out of focus, just that thin depth of field. But here's another example. You can see the color and the clarity and the detail in the leaves. But what's behind this is what's amazing. And look at the bokeh. You can almost, it just looks like one big blur, but this is what's behind it. So you can see that red basket there in the tree and the green ring around the tree. In that first photo, you really saw none of that. I wanted to show you some video as well. This is shot, again, with the a6500, standard profile, no editing done to this video at all, handheld. The a6500 does have image stabilization built into the body. This lens is not image stabilized, so that's a consideration. I wanted to show you, again, handheld, what you can get out of this as far as stability goes. So I think it's decent. It's not great. If you really want something that is, shake free, definitely consider using a tripod with this. But on a camera that has in-body stabilization, I think it does a decent job. You might be able to get away with some handheld stuff in a pinch. Obviously, it's not going to give you the best results. Best results would be on a tripod. So that was some of the video and the pictures that we showed. Let's get back to my wrap-up. So those were the pictures and the video. Extremely impressed with this lens. It is, again, the equivalent of roughly 85mm, which makes it a great portrait lens. It might be tight for other general type photography, but for a portrait lens at this price, especially for the Sony system, there's really nothing that compares to this at this point from Sony. Sigma, there's great color, great clarity, great contrast. CA is fairly well, or chromatic aberration is fairly well controlled. There is some distortion, but if you use in-camera corrections on the Sony bodies, that will take care of that. Also, if you're shooting photos, you can do that in Photoshop or Lightroom as well. Who is this lens for? Anybody who wants to shoot portraits and get that creamy smooth bokeh. The bokeh on this lens is amazing. Probably its #1 selling point. You want to get those blurry backgrounds, and bokeh looks really great. You saw that in some of the pictures. I gave you an example of that. I can definitely highly recommend this lens. You can see it here with its other, maybe brother and sister here. This is the 14mm f1.4, the 30mm f1.4, and this 56mm f1.4. And when I travel, for me, that's pretty much all that I'm going to need for travel photography. So I will bring my 6500, Alpha 6500, and also bring these 3 lenses, and that will pretty much cover everything that I need. Thank you so much for taking the time to look at this first look. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. If you do subscribe, please click on that bell icon. Get out there and have your photo gear fun. We'll talk at you in the next one.